Hello folks, I'm Ronald Mehta and welcome back to Digit.com. We are your digital aid and we provide free courses on the subject of business and marketing. In this video, we take a brief stab on the types of advertising along with live examples and case studies. Let's start with the first one.
We are going to cover the topic on advocacy advertising. Let's start with the introduction. Advocacy advertising uses marketing to push a cause or message. It is a commercial or public communication that tries to affect the opinion of the public on some economic, social, or political matters. Funds for advocacy advertising can be collected from private advocacy groups, corporations, non-profit organizations, etc. Advocacy advertising is used more for non-profit endeavors. Moving forward, most non-profit organizations use some advocacy advertising to push their agendas. Businesses sometimes use this method to push for or against legislation that is good or bad for their business. Commercial advertising is usually used to promote a product or service. On the other hand, advocacy advertising is used to support and advance the interest of a group or the public. Now, who's involved in advocacy advertising? Advocacy advertising is used for more than just political campaigns and non-profits. Rather than promoting a product or a service, if a group tries to raise awareness by publishing an ad, then we can say that it is using advocacy advertising. This includes lobbyists, advocacy groups, corporations, and other interest groups. Let's look at an example of Kellogg's. The famous breakfast cereal company Kellogg's used social media for the 2011 Share Your Breakfast ad campaign. It went on to win awards. In 2012, Kellogg's received the Best Advocacy Social Media Campaign Award in the Internet Advertising Competition. Kellogg's convinced users to submit breakfast photos on Facebook. This led to the company donating free breakfast to schools through a non-profit. Their aim was to donate more than 1 million breakfasts to kids who might need them. Next, let's look at the channels of advocacy advertising. They include 2 channels. First, traditional advocacy advertising, which includes advertising through television, radio, magazines, and newspapers. And the other, modern channels of advocacy advertising, which includes first, social media, which can deliver a message straight to a support base. This is why it is very useful in advocacy advertisements. Next, email, which can send personalized messages through emails to target a section of supporters. Next, display ads. Search and display ads can create awareness about the cause among people who are searching online. This requires advertising that is specifically targeted to people who may support the cause. Next, website. A website can be used as a core for digital advocacy ad campaigns. People who visit your website are the most valuable audience. This is because they are the nearest to the action. They can be made to sign up to volunteer, donate, or get involved in other ways. Now, moving on to more examples of advocacy advertising. In this case, the World Wildlife Foundation, which partnered with Snapchat to promote the #LastSelfie campaign. The campaign's basic idea is to use the original timed message feature to point out that endangered species are running out of time while connecting with millennials through selfies. #LastSelfie creatively uses the new Snapchat mobile social platform. Don't let this be, my #LastSelfie was used to create donations to the World Wildlife Foundation. Moving forward, young internet users are difficult to target through traditional media. It is this segment that was approached. The campaign was a success. WWF achieved their monthly funding goal within the first 72 hours of the start of the #LastSelfie campaign. Some of the numbers from the campaign: posted by 40,000 Twitter users in 1 week, seen by 120 million Twitter users in 1 week. It took 3 days to reach the monthly target, which is almost 50% of all Twitter users. Moving on to the next example of Airbnb. Airbnb promotes inclusivity with the #WeAccept campaign. The cause of immigration and the worldwide refugee crisis motivated Airbnb to put across their point of view on this controversial issue. They tried to inspire people to become more inclusive. The Airbnb #WeAccept campaign was launched during the Super Bowl. The #WeAccept campaign managed to get 33,000 tweets in the Super Bowl's first half. Its impressions reached 87 million. It also helped launch Airbnb's plan to give short-term housing to about 100,000 people in need. It wants to reach this number in half a decade. Moving forward, the next example on Starbucks. Starbucks UK teamed up with Mermaids for the #What'sYourName campaign. Mermaids is an organization that supports young, gender diverse and transgender people. Starbucks mixed social media engagement and TV commercial. It is a campaign driven by values. It centers on Starbucks' desire to honor people's chosen names and be inclusive of people of all genders. The campaign uses a famous part of Starbucks experience, the writing of the customer's name on the side of the cup. It promises to be respectful of names that customers want to be called. Starbucks encouraged people to post photos online of their mermaid tail cookie using the campaign hashtag. This was used to raise funds for mermaids. The next example, Make-A-Wish Foundation, the Bat Kid campaign. Miles, a 5-year-old, was a fervent Batman fan. He was also a leukemia patient at the time. This little kid got his wish fulfilled on a grand scale. The event was organized by a Make-A-Wish Foundation. The marketing agency helped design a social media plan that guided them throughout the project. Make-A-Wish Foundation and the city of San Francisco built a huge replica of the Gotham City together. They then sent him on an adventure through the city for a day. It got more than 500,000 #BatKid hashtags and 1.8 million social impressions. Make-A-Wish Foundation donations greatly increased, causing its site to crash. There were 12,000 foundation volunteers who made sure BatKid's every wish was met. They let Miles feel like he was an actual superhero. Brand advocacy gained greatly because social media was filled with this story. People couldn't seem to get enough of it. It was one of the greatest brand advocacy successes in recent memory. Miles reached the age of 10 in November 2018. It marked 5 years in remission. By then, he was considered cancer-free. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on advocacy advertising. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on surrogate advertising. Let's start with the introduction. The type of advertising employed to endorse banned products under the wheel of another product is called surrogate advertising. It delivers a message which is connected to the product through the promotion of a different product. This method is adopted for the promotion of products like liquor, cigarettes, as they are banned in countries like India. The restricted commodity is not showcased directly to consumers. The product that is banned is disguised under another product under the same brand name. As a result, whenever the brand is mentioned, it is linked with the main product that is banned. Moving further, surrogate advertising could be adopted due to several reasons. The main reason is to work around the ban on promotion for a specific type of commodity. Surrogate advertising uses a product of a relatively close variety or totally varied category to instill the name of a brand into the minds of the customers. Example, in the case of alcohol, the close category would be club soda and mineral water. And products of totally varied category from alcohol would be playing cards or music CDs. After looking at these advertisements, customers correlate these products to the banned products. This influence on the behavior motivates indirect advertisements. Moving further, the history of surrogate advertising. The concept of surrogate advertising was created in Britain. The housewives in Britain started protesting against advertising liquor. They claimed that it provoked their husbands. The objection reached a point where liquor advertising had to be outlawed. Forced with no other option, brand owners chose to promote soda and fruit juices under the brand's name. This idea later developed as surrogate advertisements. Moving on to surrogate advertising in India. Since 1995, India has had a strong stance pertaining to the ban of liquor products and tobacco. After comprehensive research from the Indian Ministry of Health, it was found that liquor and cigarettes have negative impact on the health of a person. This resulted in enforcing a ban on these products. The Indian government has a notion that these products make an individual inactive and unmotivated. It is also a belief that it is harmful to the mental health of a person. The combination of these facts and beliefs resulted in an eventual ban on the publicity of these products throughout all media channels. Moving further, the government is now enforcing a ban on surrogate advertisements as well. Companies are turning towards event organizing, event sponsorship, corporate films, and many such innovative and integrated marketing communication strategies. Although surrogate advertising is still an ordinary practice. As per media reports, almost INR 600 to 800 crores is spent across all mediums annually on surrogate advertising in India, and 70% of this is spent on TV advertising. Let's look at the top 5 surrogate advertisers in India. In terms of TV, it is the brand Seagram's. In terms of radio, it is Royal Stag Mega Cricket. In terms of print, it was Blender's Pride Fashion Tour. And in terms of digital, it was the Budweiser Experiences. These are numbers from August 2019 to July 2020. Moving on, a court case involving IPL team and surrogate advertising. Mr. Ramadas was a former Union Health Minister of India. He disputed the name of Bangalore's Indian Premier League cricket team, Royal Challengers. It was an obvious surrogate advertisement for Royal Challenge, the liquor brand. Although the Supreme Court of India noted that the team wasn't called Royal Challenge but was called Royal Challengers, on a lighter note, it was observed on the bench that only those who drink can be attracted by these things. It attributed to the fact that the name would not affect any non-drinkers. Now let's look at some examples of surrogate advertising, and in India, the king of surrogacy being Kingfisher. The man behind the strategy for Kingfisher's surrogate advertising was Vijay Mallya, the embattled liquor tycoon. He promoted various products and services like bottled water, soda, calendar, an IPL cricket team, and even an airline under the brand name Kingfisher. Other few examples include Imperial Blue's Men Will Be Men campaign, McDowell's number one Yari, Carlsberg Club Glasses, Tuborg's Zero Soda, and the very famous Bacardi music CDs. To conclude, the creative brain behind Imperial Blue's Men Will Be Men ads, Ajay Golat, former CCO of Publicis WW India, said, "Alcohol advertising was not as stringent as cigarettes. Cigarette advertising is practically over. The only medium they can advertise on is the pack itself. You can have cigarette ads, you can't have cigarettes in print or TV. At most, you can put the branding on the shop which actually sells cigarette. Alcohol brands, however, advertise for extensions like music CDs, glasses. Though legitimate, everyone knows what they are really advertising." So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on surrogate advertising. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video.
In this video, we are going to cover the topic on disruptive advertising. Now let's start with what is disruptive advertising. Disruptive advertisement refers to an effective ad which is unexpected. It's an ad that breaks past noise. Disruptive advertising is employed for one-time use. It allows a business to grab a person's attention for a while. It increases engagement on social media. Moving further, this is the age of the customer. Firms must always be competitive. They have to rethink old school marketing methods. They must rethink the rules. Disruption involves risk. The firm must rely on their intuitions. They must reject the norms. Disruptive advertising is about disobeying all the advertising rules that are in practice. The marketer should not be fine with the status quo. They must seek to disrupt the way it's done. Moving further, the benefits of disruptive advertising. First, change how your brand is seen. There are many advantages to disruptive marketing. One can change how a brand is seen. A firm might be seen as one of many selling boring products that aren't unique. Disruptive campaigns can make the firm look like it understands the consumer needs and can meet them. Next, reach out to customers. Disruptive advertising lets a firm interact with its customers at a more intimate level. This gives better results than reusing the same old content. It provides space for storytelling and encourages creativity. Next, prevent rip-offs. No rival will be able to replicate the effect once a disruption has been made. This is a huge benefit to this type of advertising. And finally, makes paid media not very necessary. The disruptive advertisement campaigns can be run without a massive budget. This is a major advantage. Disruptive campaigns and unconventional messaging are geared towards attracting media and increasing likes. It can be a written press coverage, retweet, or blog post. The more consumers pass on the message, the less money is needed to be spent on traditional media campaign. Moving on, how to build a disruptive advertising campaign. It entails these 9 steps. First, there should be industry expertise. Second, a customer's needs should be well understood. Third, one has to subvert expectations. Fourth, using humor is a good idea. Fifth, unconventional combinations can be used. Sixth, the brand shouldn't hesitate to cross certain boundaries. Seventh, the campaign can make its responses emotional. Eighth, one has to think like a customer. And finally, uniqueness about the campaign is the key. Moving on to disruptive advertising examples. Starting with the first one, Burger King. The ad Burger King's Whopper with the moldy burger has experts divided. Burger King made a campaign to highlight its Whopper that it has no artificial preservatives. Burger King grabbed eyeballs when it released its new ad. It featured a Whopper turning moldy. The ad was launched by the chain owned by Restaurants Brand Limited. They said they would not use artificial preservatives, flavors and colors while making their most well-known products in the States. CNBC gauged the reactions of many experts. Many thought that showing real burger getting moldy was a great idea. Next, Game of Thrones. This campaign was launched in Great Britain. This was a truly epic campaign. A dragon skull the size of a bus showed up on Dorset's Jurassic Coast. This coast is well known for its dinosaur fossils. This was done as a tribute to the launch of Game of Thrones Season 3 on Blinkbox, a streaming platform. The skull was 9 foot tall and 40 feet long. It announced the launch of Game of Thrones' 3rd season. Next, another campaign by Game of Thrones was seen in New York Times. HBO released this excellent ad on the New York Times on a Monday. It showed a dragon's shadow over 2 pages of fake news stories, again for the launch of a new season. Next, brand Coca-Cola. This is a marketing gimmick by Coca-Cola in Dubai. Coca-Cola kept special phone booths in labor camp when foreign workers lived. A call from UAE to the workers' countries of origin cost $0.91 per minute. These workers mostly come from countries in the subcontinent in Asia.
A bottle of Coke in Dubai fetches $0.54. Each cab allowed them to make a 3-minute call. The workers didn't have to spend $2.73. They could contact their families only for $0.54. On average, a worker makes $6 a day. That is why the phone booths were very well received by workers. Next, a brilliant outdoor campaign by Jeep showing its off-roading capabilities. The next in line is a hoarding by BMW Mini showcasing its xenon lights. Kit Kat, Sprite, or indulging beach lovers for a quick shower. At the same time, Sprite getting the maximum attention due to this perfect innovative campaign. And the final one between Coca-Cola and Coca-Cola Light. As we can see in the picture, on the left are staircases with Coca-Cola's regular Coke being painted there and Coca-Cola Light on the escalator on the right, indicating that the ones who drinking Coca-Cola Light do save a lot in calories and there is no harm in taking the escalator instead of taking steps. Moving on, why does disruptive advertising work? We live in times when things are ever changing. Services, products and technology are always changing and growing quickly. Because of this, consumers have almost unlimited options. They are also burdened by a lot of information that they receive on a daily basis. Any marketer must differentiate the products or business from the crowd, as we saw in examples earlier. Disruptive advertising serves to meet this goal. It helps a firm reach out to a worldwide market efficiently. It helps a business to get noticed by consumers. That's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on disruptive advertising. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on subliminal advertising. Now let's start with the definition of subliminal advertising. Also known as a hidden message, subliminal messages are devised to pass below the standard perception levels. They are perceptible to the deeper or unconscious intellect, but not to the conscious intellect. Moving on to what is subliminal advertising. They are optical or audible stimuli undetectable by the conscious intellect and are placed in songs, TV commercials or other forms of media. The convincingness of advertisements is reinforced and enhanced with such messages. Completely different messages can also be conveyed through this form. Even if subliminal messages are vigorously searched for, they cannot be found by the conscious intellect or mind. The reason being, the stimuli for our conscious understandings are things that are above the standard perception levels, that are things that are visible and audible, whereas subliminal messages are below it. Moving on. In advertising, subliminal messages use consciously undetectable stimuli, as in images or words, which cannot be detected. It is very common for subliminal messages to be conveyed by flashing words or images for a brief period, probably less than 0.033 seconds, making them undetectable. James Vickery first instituted subliminal messaging as a concept in advertising, after which Vance Packard in 1952 restated it in his book The Hidden Persuaders. Moving on, is subliminal advertising effective? Consciously undetectable subliminal messages constitute optical and audible stimuli. They are placed inside songs, TV commercials, digital advertisements, prints, or other forms of media. They do not aim to be overpowering, but to be effective. They are used to strengthen or heighten an advertisement's convincingness or convey a completely different message. Now let's look at some of the examples of subliminal advertising. First, KFC's Dollar Snacker. KFC also drew negative attention in 2008 when it aired a commercial for its Dollar Snacker featuring green dollar bill in the lettuce. Why it doesn't work? First of all, it's sloppy. Secondly, it's a dollar bill. No one needs to be reminded that KFC's end goal is to make us spend money. Next, Burger King. Burger King's new 7-inch burger that considered one beef patty, sauteed onions, American cheese and fabulous steak sauce was advertised by them in 2009. The advertisement consisted of an amazed woman facing the burger with an open mouth. The caption reads, "It will blow your mind away." For an ad that's trying to sell a sandwich, it's laden with sexual metaphor. There was no need to include this kind of imagery, particularly for a product that has absolutely nothing to do with sex. Next in line by Wendy's. After 1983, Wendy's revised their logo in 2013 for the first time. Although it retained most of its original components, Wendy's included the word mom on Wendy's ruffled collar, as we can see, to create a positive image in the customer's mind. Next, FedEx. FedEx is harboring a hidden message. The white space between E and X clearly outlines an arrow. Why it works? FedEx uses the arrow to highlight speed and efficiency, the brand's biggest benefits. Next, the SFX magazine. SFX magazine pivots around fantasies and sci-fi entertainment, but that isn't evident from its cover. Its cover is designed to make SFX look like sex, especially with the cover page featuring women. Next, Toblerone.
At first glance, the Toblerone logo looks like your average Swiss mountain range. But take a look closer and you'll notice that logo features a bear standing on its hind legs, expertly hidden in the design. Why it works? This is a clever tribute to the Swiss city of Bern, nicknamed the City of Bears, where the chocolate company was founded. And finally, the example of Pepsi versus Coke. It is subtle but effective. Pepsi launched an advertisement stating that it is a horror to receive a Coke when you desire a Pepsi. Coke, in response to the ad, used the ad itself and made Coke seem like the hero in a cape. Why it works? It works so well because the two classic competitors each managed to make consumers see their product in a positive light while casting a clear shadow on the competition. It's designed to make you feel something without explaining why, and it manages to do just that. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on subliminal advertising. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video.
In this video, we are going to cover the topic on institutional advertising. Let's start with the definition of institutional advertising. It is any kind of advertising dealing with the promotions of business, institutional, organizational, or related units. The main goal of institutional advertising's promotional ventures is to motivate the support for a company, boost its reputation, and build a good image of the company. It is also called corporate advertising. With institutional advertising, the company promotes itself instead of promoting its products. Products are not sold directly in institutional advertising. The work done by a company in environmental, educational, health and other fields is made known to the public through institutional advertising to boost its reputation. Moving on to the objectives of institutional advertising. First, to promote the company's beliefs, ideas, vision and aim. Next, to build on the image of a company as a whole instead of creating and building on the image of a service or product. Third, to encourage the positive qualities that set the company apart like dependability, commendable customer care or lower price. And finally, to build and preserve the company's goodwill in the market. Next, medium of institutional advertising. Radio, television, print and digital advertising are the most popular means for institutional advertising. Moving on to advantages of institutional advertising. First, dealing with a negative attitude. It is one of the most promising ways of dealing with the negative image of a company in the eyes of its consumers. The negative image of various companies is countered through institutional advertising. Next, increase the company's awareness. Using institutional advertising to boost the company's image aids in improving brand awareness. Next, developing brand identity. Following one theme throughout the use of institutional advertising can aid in building a united brand identity. Next, encourage investors. Rather than just the company's products, the whole company's image motivates the investors. Next, there's a possibility of aid from the government. Benefits and aids are received from the government by the companies that participate in good CSR activities. Next, builds a subdued sales pitch. A subdued sales pitch can be built with the help of institutional advertising. The consumers subjected to institutional advertising will be unaware of the sales pitch used to attract them towards the company's products. Or we may say, instead of hard selling, institutional advertising is more like soft selling. And finally, institutional advertising helps in humanizing the brand, to find allies and friends in the audience and instill a sense of inclusion within the employees and training them. Now moving on to the disadvantages of institutional advertising. First, return on investment. Many specialists believe that in short run, institutional advertising adds to the company's advertising cost and does not get appropriate returns. This is because it concentrates on promoting the company instead of its products. Next, misguided consumers. Like product advertising, institutional advertising tends to misguide consumers because of which they feel like they have been misguided by the company. And finally, a positive impact may not be created. Institutional advertising is only a PR activity and does not guarantee an increase in the sales of services or goods. Moving on to institutional advertising examples. Starting with the first one, McDonald's campaign on night workers. Social ad campaigns are created by government agencies in order to spread awareness among people regarding programs and social issues. Anti-pollution, anti-corporation, child immunization, and anti-dowry examples of some of these programs. A huge number of people who work hard all through the night are not noticed by the public. This campaign by McDonald's featured a group of invisible staff where they are shown tucking hospital patient ins, as in the nurses, stocking supermarket shelves late in the night. In the end, 3 night workers are shown gaining recognition at McDonald's. The advertisement ends with a catchphrase, "If you are awake, we are awake." As in, McDonald's serving these late night workers who need a quick bite late in the night. Next, P&G's Thank You Mom campaign.
For the 2010 Olympics, P&G wanted to turn its corporate reputation into a competitive advantage by leveraging its global scale and uniting its 34 brands under one voice then. At first blush, P&G does not have an obvious connection with the Olympics, but every Olympic athlete has or had a mom, and P&G loves moms. That became the connection that drove the creation of a powerful idea that would play out across a broad range of content and experiences. In 2010, Thank You Mom was the biggest and the most successful global campaign in P&G's 175-year history, with about 500 million in global incremental and P&G sales, 76 billion global media impressions, over 74 million global views, and over 370 million Twitter interactions. Moving to the next one, this campaign by McDonald's focused on the aspect of diversity and how diversity is important for them. Next, a campaign by Coca-Cola, Arctic Home, raising awareness of climate change and how it's affecting the polar bears. Coca-Cola and McGlory Freeman partnered to create an unprecedented corporate social responsibility campaign. In 2011, Coca-Cola set out to launch the largest integrated marketing campaign ever undertaken by the company, all centered on the conservation of the brand's mascot, the polar bear. Next, a campaign by Dove, Real Beauty. The vast differences between the way we see ourselves and others see us was highlighted by this campaign called Real Beauty by Dove. And finally, a campaign by Levi's, Go Forth by Viren Kennedy. Levi's Go Forth, a new voice and campaign for Levi's brand and Levi's 501 jeans. The campaign is inspired by the passion Walt Whitman felt for the potential of America and promise of the future. Films were created to demonstrate Levi's awareness and relevance in the world through America and Pioneers. Oh Pioneers, accompanied by readings of Whitman's poem of the same name.
So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on types of advertising. Do subscribe to our channel where you'll witness such videos daily. Thank you and stay tuned for more videos.